A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
You got f***ing grow, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard another episode of the Gallant Says podcast, available live at twitch.tv/Gallant Says and youtube.com/Paul Gallant. You can also get it wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. It is Monday, February 20th of 2023. I want to take a look at something that the Houston Texans did not do that is getting a shit ton of support online because the person they almost hired as head coach, not just this past offseason, but last offseason, is apparently somebody that just is incapable of winning his opening press conference. And look, it's hard to do that for, I would imagine, the majority of coaches across sports to come in, to not feel nervous, and to right away win over a crowd, let alone win over the media. That's why what DeMeco Ryans did when he was hired as head coach of the Houston Texans is so impressive. And it's also why people are making fun of Jonathan Gannon. Before we get to the moment in time that people were really getting after Jonathan Gannon for, I want to play some clips from Gannon at his actual introductory press conference.
And, know the league better than anyone else. That was what I got. That was my job recognition or my job description of when I was a pro scout. So when you do that, you have a very specific vision of what you want in a player as it relates to the scheme. And then you have a very specific vision of the makeup of the players that you want, which that's, I know Monty and Michael have heard me say this multiple times. Everybody that we bring in here or that is here or that will be a Cardinal will have elite football character, because you will not hit your ceiling if you don't have that. And what I mean by that is you have to be team first. And that's how we're going to build this team.
So you hear that, and no offense to Jonathan Gannon, just looking at Jonathan Gannon, does that look like the kind of person who is going to get elite football character out of Kyler Murray, a person who at times does not even seem like he's remotely interested in football? I'm going to say no. But that's just the start. Maybe there's more from Jonathan Gannon that can change our minds. Here is Gannon now talking about the word accountability and what that word means to him.
But player accountability is simply this. You got to define what winning behavior is and hold people to that standard. It's as easy as that. It's your daily actions with what you're doing on a daily basis to improve yourself as a player and as a team. And accountability is just not a negative. It's a positive too. So when people do the right thing, that shows that's winning behavior, and you're going to see that our guys, we're going to love them up as hard as we're going to be on our guys, we're going to love them up even more. And that's how you win games. But I think that ultimately we're going to show them the way that we want things done, and the players sitting here right now are going to take it over, because the ultimate accountability comes from not wanting to let your teammate down with how you're going about your business. So
a lot of coach speak there, and I think if you are going just off of coach speak, maybe Jonathan Gannon does have a chance. But by and large, he sounds like a lot of head coaches at their introductory press conferences. They have a vision for how they want to see things done, but that vision is not execution. It's rare to find NFL figures who are electric at a podium, who really call people's attention. It does happen from time to time. We've seen it with Herm Edwards and with Rex Ryan. Doesn't mean that you're a good coach, but winning a press conference can buy you a little bit of goodwill. I do think, though, that when juxtapositioned with what the Arizona Cardinals told everybody they were looking for when they moved on from GM Steve Keim and moved on from head coach Cliff Kingsbury, was fire, brimstone, and someone who's going to light a fire under Kyler Murray's ass. They just spent a whole lot of money on him, and this past season, he did not seem like somebody who had taken on more of a leadership role, who was taking his position as the franchise quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals particularly seriously. So to go back in time to January 17th, this is Cardinals GM Monty Osenfort with a very strong message at the beginning of his press conference.
I'm excited to embark on this next stage in Cardinals football. We're going to focus on a completely unified message across the general manager, the head coach, and ownership to what exactly we want to be as a football organization. We're going to institute a thorough and exhaustive scouting process. We are going to turn over every stone to find the right players for this team. We are not just collecting talent, we're going to build a team. We're going to look for the right type of players. Ego will not be tolerated in this organization.
Pause for a second. Man, you gotta get that word correct. Ego will not be tolerated. It would have been a little bit better if Osenfort was able to get through that without a stumble. Whatever, Osenfort continues. This is before the Cardinals had hired Jonathan Gannon as head coach.
We are going to look for focused, driven, and people that are willing to put the team first at every step of the way.
Honestly, that's what every single fucking organization in the NFL should do. So pat yourself on the back, speaking of those platitudes, if you want Monty Osenfort, but actually hiring the right guy to do it and get it and pull it out of his players, that's another thing entirely. So here is the video that has a lot of Houston Texans fans convinced that they dodged a bullet by not hiring Jonathan Gannon, a coach that they were searching and talking to last offseason before hiring Lovie Smith, and this offseason before hiring DeMeco Ryans. And if you are watching at twitch.tv/Gallant Says or youtube.com/Paul Gallant, you will see the actual tweet from the Arizona Cardinals official team account. It says, a player's coach. So you have the organization saying, we want accountability. Ego will not be tolerated. But then you're not getting the fire and brimstone from your head coach. You're getting, at least from our first impression, someone who seems to be very friendly to his players. And again, what are you going to do at a press conference? Yell at them to run a lap or do push-ups? That's not how this works. But this video has a lot of people thinking that the Cardinals fucked up with this hire. Here is Jonathan Gannon, first pictured here with Kyler Murray, who is, for this introductory press conference for his next head coach, wearing a all-sweats uniform.
Let's go, man. Let's go. Can't wait, man. Can't wait. I was talking about you, bro. Everything I said. Let's go. Oh, man. They said, why do you want to take this job? Well, not many open jobs have a franchise quarterback. That's why. Huge football.
Pause. Okay, so, look, if that's his first meeting with Kyler Murray, a little awkward. I think we've all had bosses who maybe in their first exchange with us don't exactly seem the most socially adept. And I can understand why Gannon feels a little bit awkward there, because that guy, that quarterback, Murray, is likely going to determine how his job goes. He comes in, and this is the guy that most people are pointing at in the Cardinals organization as someone who has a lot of ego and who doesn't take accountability for his own failures. And he says, hey, what's up? Yeah, great. You know, a lot of people are asking why I wanted to take this job. And I was like, they got a franchise quarterback. I mean, that's a fair point. But did he pull that off naturally? Anyway, more Jonathan Gannon interacting with Arizona Cardinals players, which has a lot of Texans fans relieved that they did not hire Gannon as their head coach.
Character guy. So the high football character guys have to lead the other guys.
Right.
Like, it's going to come from me. It's got to come from you.
That's how the message get passed along.
That's right.
That's how it get
That's
passed
right.
along.
You know what I mean?
I'm ready.
Daily actions, man. That's what it's about.
That's it. That's it.
You know? What's up?
There's small talking about accountability. I suppose it's better than small talking about the weather, but this is small talk. And the Cardinals clearly thought it was a good idea to mic Jonathan Gannon up and to broadcast his interactions with the guys he's now going to be coaching. But they did not do him justice with this. They turned uncompelling, awkward small talk into content. I feel like the Cardinals' head of social media should be canned for what he's done to Gannon. More Jonathan Gannon.
What's up, Zach? How you doing, man? Long time no see, huh?
Good?
What do you think, man?
I'm excited for you. Dude.
I know.
It's gonna be great.
I know. It's going to be good. So,
So in that situation, at least it's Zach Ertz who played for Jonathan Gannon most recently when Gannon was in Philadelphia. Ertz was there for a little bit too. So that was like an actual, hey, we know each other already. And still it's an awkward interaction. Here's another Jonathan Gannon interaction. And if I am not mistaken, this is the one that had people comparing Jonathan Gannon to Michael Scott from the NBC television show The Office.
hey! What's up, man? How you doing? Good. Good. Shoo, 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 shoo. Shots. Explosives. Explosives. You can run. Hey!
Did you notice, and that was Rondale Moore, did you notice the side glance that Rondale Moore made to his left? Shoo, 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 shoo. By the way, I love that Gannon did that. That, to me, is more authentic than anything that you have seen before. I like a guy who acts a little bit weird. But people are pointing at that moment and acting like Jonathan Gannon is going to be a failure as a head coach because of that. And it's as if we just forgot the awkward press conference that Nick Sirianni, who had Gannon on his staff, gave when he was introduced as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Everything is going to be awkward in a situation like this. Gannon at the podium talking about accountability when the elephant in the room is that Kyler Murray hasn't taken any of it. And these interactions with these players are, for the most part, going to be his first interaction with them. He is their bosses. Maybe not their bosses. He's not the owner of the team. But as the head coach, he is the guy in charge of telling them what to do. He hasn't seen any of them in action in practice yet. He hasn't had one-on-one time with any of them in meetings. So these interactions were natural to be awkward. And add on top of it that the whole thing's being filmed and there's an element of showmanship going on here, which is, again, why I'm not going to say that missing or avoiding hiring Jonathan Gannon is a good thing for the Houston Texans. We really do not know. You can't possibly know yet. Someday we might, and I am happy that the Texans hired DeMeco Ryans as opposed to Jonathan Gannon, because I know that a lot of you Texans fans out there would have been pissed off if Gannon was the guy. And then you see this video and you're like, oh my God, he's just like everybody else. A younger head coach that's promising, but who knows if he's actually going to be able to reach these players. You don't feel that way with DeMeco Ryans. But I don't think that this video right here is a reason to write off Jonathan Gannon. The reason to write off Jonathan Gannon is that he's got to work with Kyler Murray. That's it. While we're on quarterbacks, there was some interesting news with the Seattle Seahawks, and I know some of you guys follow me because I do still stay somewhat on top of the Seattle Seahawks. Going to try to change that for the Gallant Says podcast going forward. Be better than I was this past season about keeping tabs on the Seahawks. NFL season was a little bit strange because my co-host leaves right after football season begins, and all of a sudden I had to focus more time on just doing the solo show by myself. But now, Dad, I've had a little bit of time to breathe. I'm going to try to find a way so I can still talk about Seattle sports and specifically the Seahawks. John Schneider was asked about extension talks with Geno Smith on Seattle Sports 710, Bob and Wyman, or as I like to call it, the Mike Lefko Show featuring Bob and Dave. Anyway, John Schneider said, "Good talk so far. We're in it. We're just trying to figure out what's best, and we'll do what's right." Schneider continued saying, "Free agency doesn't start until the middle of March. There's a huge period here where we have time to work through things. Maybe there is a little bit of pressure on the Seahawks to get something done now because Seahawks quarterback coach Dave Canales is now the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe he draws Geno to Tampa Bay. It's going to be hard, though, for Tampa Bay to sign him, given that they have that $35 million cap charge for Tom Brady, dead money with him retiring. So I'm of the belief that the Seahawks should give Geno Smith the franchise tag, $32.416 million for a one-year deal. I don't think that locking Geno Smith in long-term is the best idea. He did have some really good moments last year. He had some good moments in 2021, but I felt like the second half of the season was more of a true indication of what Geno Smith is, which is a right around the Dalton line, middle of the road as far as quarterbacks across the league. So Seattle's got to be careful with that. If you're John Schneider, short-term deal for Geno Smith is the short-term priority. Long-term priority is finding another quarterback in the draft. And given his scouting, I mean, they drafted Russell Wilson. They were at the pro days for guys like Josh Allen, even when they had Russell Wilson and others, Patrick Mahomes too. Seems like he does have a decent eye for quarterbacks. There's some others that he's looked at too, though, that maybe weren't as hot a commodity ultimately. But anyway, shifting over to the Seattle Seahawks and DK Metcalf, who was my favorite player to cover while I was there, followed closely by Quandre Diggs and Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf is funny. Every single time he does it back and forth with Pardon My Take, it's hilarious. He and Pro Football Talk commenter, PFT commenter, roasting each other. But this video went viral over the weekend, and it really does have me wondering about people online and their ability to determine what is fake and what is real. Anyway, here is a video of DK Metcalf making an incredible catch, jumping very high in the air to do it.
Hey, look up there.
Clearly, this is fake. He jumps up, holds up one arm, and there's no way any human being can jump this high. Bobs_4 at twitch.tv/Gallant says, "It's the shoes." Sure. Ooh. He comes all the way down. You can tell that video is fake if you look at it. Just notice the way he falls down. I'm rewinding it. See, watch this. Look how far his left leg goes and how quickly it goes. That's fake. Also, just watch it at first and be honest with yourself. It's fake. And yet, enough people online thought it was real. Just enough to where you actually have to clarify it. And it's a shame that we are at this phase when it comes to the internet, that there are so many things out there that are fake. I've not too long ago said on this podcast, sometimes you don't need to be skeptical of everything. But when it comes to videos, yeah, you got to be pretty careful with it. Other examples of this, here is a video of Tom Brady, who looked to be so accurate that he was throwing a football into a jugs machine.
Ready? Got this? Let's go.
Tom Brady's hair looks so good there. And look, as someone who believes that Tom Brady is his Lord and Savior, maybe that was real, huh? That's fake. It's fake, guys. You can do incredible things these days with CGI. You don't even need to have a fancy camera or anything like that, or a green screen. You want another video that may have been fake involving Tom Brady? Here's Tom Brady hitting a hole-in-one that was caught by a drone.
3, 2, 1, swing.
Hang on a second. Let me transition this so you can actually watch it.
That's
looking good.
That's in the hole. That's in. That's in.
Let's get it. Hop off a 16 passenger. This a G5. No, this not a Challenger. Big one. I get some members with me in the fridge. The coat seats, they some cannibals. Eaters. They like to geek. Drink a whole bottle, wake up and repeat. Damn. She took a look, mixed it with the chill out. Now she say she saying 3D. I go in the jungle and they got a cup.
Very clearly fake. See how quickly the ball moves. It just rattles right into the cup. But some people, enough people, think this shit online is real. Videos that are posted online, whether they're something from sports where DK Metcalf is jumping 8 feet in the air, or Tom Brady breaking a jugs machine or hitting a hole-in-one, or in the world of just online viral confrontations. There's a lot of fake going on there too, where it doesn't involve CGIs, but it has me wondering just about the word deepfake Metcalf. Maybe we should call him that now. Deepfakes are synthetic media in which a person in an existing image or video is replaced with someone else's likeness. While the act of creating fake content is not new, deepfakes leverage powerful techniques from machine learning and artificial intelligence to manipulate or generate visual and audio content that can more easily deceive. The main machine learning methods used to create deepfakes are based on deep learning and involve training generative. I don't know what any of this shit means. I don't know why I'm reading it. Deepfakes have garnered widespread attention for their potential use in creating child sexual abuse material, celebrity pornographic videos, revenge porn, fake news, hoaxes, bullying, and financial fraud. This has elicited responses from both industry and government to detect and limit their use. And this is where it gets tricky. Because how do you determine that? How do you determine what is allowed and what isn't? Because a lot of people like to post stuff to fuck with people or to generate engagement, etc. Clearly, like you saw with Tom Brady in the hole-in-one, or like DK Metcalf and whatever shoes he was wearing. There was probably an advertisement for the shoes, as Bob's4 pointed out on twitch.tv/Gallant says. It's one of those things that it happens, and you know that there's a reason for doing this. Perhaps this is something that shouldn't be advertised because it's going to make some people, I guess, stupidly believe that they can jump a mile in the air because they are wearing those shoes. But I don't know where you draw the line here. And there's so much fake shit on the internet now that we're adding CGI fake in addition to like staged acts of video and pictures. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. But anyway, speaking of DK Metcalf actually won the MVP at the Celebrity All-Star Game. There's actually some highlights that we got here. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. He really is. He had a couple of dunks in this game. I think he had 20 and 10 or something like that. I'll be honest, to rewind a little bit, I'm insulted that they let this guy on the court. I'm just going to, hang on, let's rewind a second. Let's rewind. Because I want to play in this. See that guy right there? You can see him with my mouse on him. I'm insulted that this guy was allowed on the court. I don't know who he is, and yeah, I am fat shaming the guy. It's bullshit. I should have been on the court for that. I want to play in a Celebrity All-Star Game. I want to take out a celebrity. Hey, you want to get a free layup? You're going to have to earn it. I'm going to send you to the fucking court, Justin Bieber. And then be like, oh, yeah, sorry, man, I play football. Because that's what you do if you're one of those roughhousers when you play pickup basketball. Huh? I want to play in a Celebrity All-Star Game. I would not want to play in a Celebrity All-Star Game, though, that involves DK Metcalf, who had an incredible game. So DK Metcalf has that deep fake video posted. He wins the MVP at the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game. And here's where I'm not even sure if this is real. This could be a deep fake, too. DK Metcalf posted on his Instagram story the following. It was a message from the NFL. Good morning, DK. This is Brian Keller. On behalf of the NFL, you've been selected for a PES policy collection tomorrow. Please contact me as soon as possible so that we may arrange a time and place to meet tomorrow. So, DK Metcalf got drug tested. Is it because the NFL thought that was real? Is it because of winning the Celebrity All-Star Game MVP award? What could it be that has people thinking that DK Metcalf is using PEDs? Or is this a fake by DK Metcalf to continue to keep this video viral? You don't even know anymore. I'm starting to sound like fucking Kyrie Irving. And speaking of Kyrie Irving, he had some very interesting things to say this weekend about criticism of NBA stars who have made trade requests. He is the most recent, of course, formerly with the Brooklyn Nets. Here is a video of Irving being very Kyrie Irving. He's wearing a hoodie with glasses inside. I don't get it.
What's a bad situation, and why doesn't anybody have the ability to ask for trades?
Well, they do. People are suggesting that they shouldn't because it's ruining the fan experience for a lot of teams. If you agree to play for a team, you sign a contract with them. Okay, maybe you don't want to play for them anymore, but something's got to be done so that if you sit out to get out of town, you shouldn't be able to make a dime. You should have to pay some of that money back. And if you're willing to pay some of that money back, or if you're willing to buy out the remainder of your contract, I think that might be a deterrent to keep all these players from consistently quitting their way off of a team like we saw with Kyrie Irving and James Harden the last couple of years. Here is more Kyrie Irving.
That's my question. It's just, when did it become terrible to make great business decisions for yourself and your happiness and your peace of mind?
Oh my God, he's so insufferable. I'm trying to be fair to him. When did it become a crime to make personal businesses decisions for yourself and your own mental being? Well, because no one's looking at it from your perspective, dude. That's why.
Not every employer you're going to get along with. So if you have a chance to go somewhere else and you're doing it legally, I don't think there's a problem with it. Again, the speculation.
He's not technically wrong, but there is a problem with the way that he has done it. There is. He can't deny that. You can't have it both ways. If you don't want to play for a team, you got to own the fact that you're quitting your way off the team. And just say, yeah, I didn't want to be there. And I did whatever was necessary to get out of town. If you're more honest and transparent with it, great. But there's this idea of that NBA players seem to have that they're above such criticism for something like that. I don't get how they don't understand it at all. But anyway, more Kyrie Irving.
Speculation and narratives is what makes this entertainment kind of seem a little bit more important or more priority than it actually is. Like, it's my life. It's not just a dream that everybody can gossip about.
Oh my gosh. It's my life. It's now or never. I'm not going to be in Dallas forever. I might quit on them down the stretch and get traded to another team. Although this is the end of his contract. He will be a free agent this offseason. More Kyrie Irving.
I take it very serious, and most of the work that I do doesn't get seen, so I don't know if it'll ever be truly appreciated, but
I don't know that they would truly appreciate it. Okay, Jesus Christ, I can't deal with this one anymore. But anyway, there are some points that Kyrie Irving made along the way there that make a little bit of sense. Like if you are working in another industry and you want to go somewhere that's going to pay you more or treat you better or just be a better workplace overall, yeah, but this is different. This is a high-profile sport, and of course people are going to talk about it, and they're going to roast you when you quit on a team. It's new. Maybe years from now, people won't roast people who quit on the team they're playing for. Kevin Durant was also asked about trade requests at the NBA All-Star Game Media Day. Here is what Durant had to say.
I don't think it's bad for the league. It's bringing more eyes to the league. More people are more excited. The tweets that I got and the news hits that we got from me being traded, Kyrie being traded, just bring more attention to the league. And
he's not wrong. It does bring more attention to the league. But is that good? Is it good that the drama of a player and where he's going to play during the regular season is perhaps more entertaining than the actual games themselves, which regularly feature guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving not actually playing? That's the problem the league is facing right now. And sure, there's lots of tweets and engagement with a guy in Kevin Durant who lives his life online. Okay, yeah, maybe that is confirmation that what you're doing is good for the sport because people are talking about it. But when they're being critical of you and you're someone that's proven that he's pretty sensitive when it comes to criticism, is that really what you want? Is it what fans want? It definitely isn't. More Kevin Durant.
And that's really what makes you money is when you get more attention. So I think it's great for the league, to be honest. Teams been trading players and making acquisitions for a long time. Now when a player can, kind of dictate where he wants to go and leaving free agency or demand a trade, it's just part of the game now. So I don't think it's a bad thing. It's bringing more and more excitement to the
He's spinning it for himself. It's a part of the game now, but most fans don't want it to be a part of the game. And I don't think it brings excitement to the game. I think it turns off a lot of people, and it makes fans of teams that maybe have bad ownership groups like depressed. Things don't change for them. You get a player like Kevin Durant, it could potentially change your franchise's future forever. Now the only way it seems like to get a guy like that on a good, on a bad organization is to suck and to win the lottery, which is what the Rockets seem to be trying to doing. But look, there's going to be a lot of criticism for both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for these comments. I think our attention shouldn't be focused on those two because they are just operating in an environment that allows them to operate this way. It's not their fault that things have gotten to a point where, these guaranteed contracts that NBA players sign, they can essentially play their way to a point where they're traded to a team that they want to play for and maybe hurt the return that the team that had said player could actually get in return because they kind of take away all their leverage. They're not the problem. The problem is the commissioner because he's just a pushover when it comes to his interactions with players. Here's Adam Silver talking about load management in July. In July, it seemed like it actually was a problem to him.
There's no players, frankly, that aren't injured. Far more frustrating also isn't clear, at least to me, whether it's serving a useful purpose. So that, figuring out a way to create that right, healthy balance, I think is what we're all about. And having players, frankly, that aren't injured, following some program schedule for rest that I'm looking.
The program schedule for rest is not something that fans want to hear about when you're paying a ton of money to go to an NBA game and all of a sudden the players that you actually showed up to see aren't there. I think it's a massive problem for the sport. And you would think that Silver would be doing something to correct that. He's not, though. Here's Adam Silver this weekend saying he doesn't buy into load management being an NBA problem.
I don't buy into. I think on the other hand, then there's the fan aspect of saying, all right, well, if that's going to be the case, that players are not going to be able to participate in a certain amount of games, what should the response be from the league and how should you be presenting your product? It's interesting because even given where we are now, where I don't think the issue is quite what some suggest. I mean, our stars are not missing that many games for resting. I mean, we have injuries. I think we'd all agree that's a separate issue. But if sort of as a measure of single games missed, it's not that bad. But
it's not that bad. That means it is happening, and that it's happening at all is bad. And you're allowing it to happen, and there's no pushback. There's no penalty for players who do it. There's no penalties for teams who allow it, who operate by it, who swear by it. And that's how you get guys like Kawhi Leonard who are playing like 3/4 of the season now. And it's going to get worse and worse over time because Adam Silver has shown that he's rather player-friendly. And look, great. It's awesome that players get to make their money now. It's great that they have more power than they did in years past, but it's time for the pendulum to swing in the opposite direction. David Stern would have done that. Silver will not. He's so player-friendly to the point that I think now players realize that there's nothing he's going to really do to counteract their wishes, their desires. And the top 1% of players now basically determine the way things go across the league. And I don't think that's good. I don't. It's a star-driven league. If your team doesn't have a star, if your team has a star that doesn't want to play, or if your team has a star that's not going to be able to play in every single game, then are you really making your product better, or is it gradually getting worse? I think it's the latter. And I don't think this is Durant or Kyrie Irving. It's easy to pin the blame on guys like that. But it's all Adam Silver. This has all happened under his watch. Would it have happened under David Stern's watch? I'm not a big David Stern fan, but I think the answer is a pretty clear no. That's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. We do this every single weekday from 1 to 1:30 Central Time. We're thinking about perhaps changing the time of the show starting next week. If you haven't already, please subscribe on youtube.com/Paul Gallant or twitch.tv/Gallant Says. You can watch the show live either of those ways. Interact with the show live, too, in the Twitch chat. Big thanks to Bobs_4 and Waka Flocka Bucks joining the program today. You can also do it at youtube.com/Paul Gallant. I think I already said that. And, of course, you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Until tomorrow at 1 o'clock, so long, farewell, have yourselves a wonderful